welcome back to my channel for another book talk. So, I kind of took a week off for Thanksgiving and the holidays, but we are back, and today we are talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses. I just finished reading this book. It's Monday. I finished it on Saturday. Yes, I finished it Saturday, and so I'm super excited to talk to you guys about this. I actually just started. I'm doing a Mass Universe challenge for myself, and so I'm going to read all 16 books by next December of 2026. And so this is book one of all of the 15 books to go. So the first time that I read this series, this book for me was a 5-star, hands down. I love the book. I'm very much a vibe reader. I'm here for the vibes. If it checks all of the vibe boxes, you got a 5 stars from me. I do feel like I've been getting a little bit more picky as I'm reading all of these much high rating books that are very great, and then I go back and I read something else. I do feel like I'm getting a little bit more picky about who I give those 5 stars to, but when I first read this, it was a 5-star for me. Rereading this now, I gave it a 4 stars for a reread. And the only reason that I did that is because I know how good the other books in the series are, and I feel like I can't put this in the same 5-star category as the books that are coming. And that's the only reason. For anybody that has ever thought about picking up this book and they weren't for sure, I 100% recommend this book. I also recommend starting with this book for the Mass Universe. So, if you're interested in getting into the Mass Universe, this is the book to start with. It's not very heavy. There's still a decent amount of character development, great character development. There is some amazing plot twists, amazing. What's the word that I'm looking for? Little tidbits thrown in here and there. There's great world development. I I think there's great world development. Um, so like there's a it's more than just a cutesy book, but compared to the other two Mass series, Throne of Glass and Crescent City, I would say this is the cutesy book of the 3 books for sure. Somebody asked me if I like Throne of Glass or Court of Thorns and Roses better, and I think my answer would be that it depends on the vibe of book that I'm going for. Both of them are very well written. They have great world development. I love both of them, I think, equally. However, if I want just like a quick read, I want to sit down, I want to zone out, I want to just get through the book as quickly as I can, I'd pick up ACOTAR. If I wanted a slower read, if I wanted to slow down, really pay attention to a lot more of the backstory that goes into it, have multiple characters' point of views, switch back and forth, thinking a little bit more about, then I'd pick up Throne of Glass. It really just depends on how heavy of a read that I want to do that day. But I think that it's great. It's a wonderful book. I highly recommend it to anybody that wants to read it. I am kind of like giving a synopsis of the book, so if you don't want any part of knowledge about the book, then go ahead and log off. So it's about a young girl who she goes into the forest to hunt because her family's starving, they need food, and she kills this wolf. Well, a fae comes into town telling her that a part of the treaty, if that happens, he either takes her life or she has to live out the rest of her life in the fairy lands. So that's how she ends up in the fairy lands. That's where they all come in, and she ends up living out her months in this territory for the fae. She finds out that there's something wrong with the magic. There's a threat upon the lands. She's nervous that, oh, what if it goes into the human world? She doesn't want that because her family's still over there. Romance starts to get into it. She actually starts to fall for somebody that there. I'm trying to kind of give a synopsis without giving too much away, but then the person she falls for, the threat comes, takes her, and then she goes and tries to save everybody. And that's kind of where that whole book is. So I think it's very good. It has a great starter point, great lead up, and then the last 100 pages. And if you've read any SJM books, the last 100 pages of any of her books, and really a lot of fantasy books, is just that's where stuff hits the fan. That's where like everything happens at once. There's huge things. That's the part of the book that I find that I have to sit down and I just have to read it. There is no stopping. We have to know what happens. Um, so that's kind of what happens in that book. And so for anybody that has not read this book and doesn't want spoilers moving forward, go ahead and log off, because I'm going to be going into nitty-gritty of what my favorite scenes are, some of my favorite lines, what it meant to me more now reading it a second time for specific people. So I'm going to take a sip really quickly to give you a chance to log off. Okay, so for me reading this, I feel like you don't really get the full impact of so many things that happen in this book unless you reread it and you already know of everything else that has happened after this point. And what I mean by that is, so hopefully everybody that has not read this book, logged off, is with Rhysand. Rhysand plays such a vital role, especially towards the end of this book, but I feel like you don't really understand his motives, what actually goes down, what he's more thinking until after you've read specifically A Court of Mist and Fury, when he tells us what he's thinking. And so reading it again after reading that, I definitely view Rhysand as a different person, or male, I guess. I really, really enjoyed reading it with that perspective, with knowing more of what's to come, how he might be thinking more at this part. I really had to stop at a lot of his moments and to just kind of get more into his head and think about it. It was great. Love the famous "There you are, I've been looking for you" line. Love it. That's a line that I always, every time I read, I have to stop and I just have to kind of like, I have to let it resonate with me because it is such a good and very important line of really the entire series. Um, Another favorite line, there is the "I love you, thorns and all" that Tamlin says, that kind of, for me, that kind of resonates like why the book is called it. I really like a good, oh, that's why the book's called that line. Sometimes I feel like there are a lot of books that you go through and you never really know why it's called that, or the title really is just the vibe of the whole book, which I kind of feel like that happens for most of the rest of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Some of my favorite parts are really, most of my favorite parts is when Rhysand comes in, because I know what happens next. So I was just like, I feel like throughout most of this book, I was just like, where's Rhysand? Where's Rhysand? I just want to get to that part. And when she makes the bargain, and I just love it. Also, knowing what to come, I viewed Nesta as a completely different person in this book as well. Elaine, not so much, just because we don't see a lot of her yet. Maybe that's going to be the next book that's hopefully coming out very soon. Who knows? For anybody that has read A Court of Thorns and Roses, I do highly recommend a reread, because every single thing that happens, you're questioning again. You view everything in a completely different way than you did the first time that you read it. It is so great. Also, if anybody has not checked out the graphic audio version of A Court of Thorns and Roses, I highly recommend it. I will say, I think the person that played Tamlin was a little bit I don't know how to describe it. Cliche. Ick. It was a little weird, but thoroughly enjoyed it, especially when you got to the second, third, fourth, fifth book. Can we talk about Tamlin? I know so many people hate him. Now, he is not my favorite male in this book. By far. But I don't hate him. I would absolutely love if she came out with a redemption book for Tamlin, especially towards, like, with Rings and Wuren, and then towards the ending, you see more softer sides of him a little bit. You also don't. But I don't hate Tamlin. And I don't know if that's because I just don't feel like I'm hateful towards very many people. Like, hate's just such a strong word, so I don't want to just use it. He's not my favorite, but I think I would 1000% be here for a Tamlin redemption book. I really want to know what happens with, like, Azriel, Elaine, Gwen, all of them, Emery first, but that's where I stand with Tamlin. I don't hate him, I don't mind him. He didn't make me. It didn't ruin reading the first book with me, knowing, like, what happens in the second book. I still really enjoyed it. It did make me question some of the things, and I don't know if that made me question some of the things. It more like reading the comments of what other people thought about certain scenes made me think about them as well. But I didn't still not like Tamlin in this book or in the next book. Do I think he should have locked her up? Absolutely not. But that's going to come in the book 2 book talk. So stick around for that. If you stuck around this whole time, please like and subscribe. Check out my other YouTube channels. Check me out on my book talk channel, MSK Reading and Writing. And I think that the next video is going to be my November recap. And next book talk is hopefully going to be The Damned, followed by A Court of Mist and Fury. So, see you guys later. Bye.